Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian GERRISH, and I don't know how many's in the hall because I've now discovered the lights, so I can see a few of you at the front, but I can't see any of you at the back, but that's not a problem. I was a bit worried. And I'm also impressed because I did see a few people having a really good time last night, and I thought, will they have a hangover? And I suspect there are some. The theme is water. There won't be a problem with me and the laptop and the water because I have a little office at home which is in a roof space under 2 Velux windows. And I was at work one day, not at home, and my son called me and he just said, "Hello, Dad, shall I empty the water out?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, shall I empty the water out?" And I said, "What for?" And he said, "Well, you left the Velux window open." And my laptop, whoomp. So you only do it once. Okay, now I've learnt a lot from all the things that we've heard so far, so I've thoroughly enjoyed the event. And we're here about exchanging information, and I'm also well aware that last night we ended on a real high. And what I've got to do with you is I've got to group you in a bit, because I want to get you focused on some things. So I'm not going to lose the high, because we will get back again. And I'm sorry it's a Sunday morning, but I'm going to take you down a bit, all right? But we will come up the other side. Thank you, machine. It'll come back. Yeah, we'll see whether it works. Unbelievable. Oh, there we are. Okay, a little bit about me. Because there's a few stories going around on the internet and the web. But I was a surface ship officer. I was not a submariner. I was a warfare officer, and I was serving in this mighty vessel in about 1983. And just for what it's worth, this is one of the towed array Leanders, and this bit on the back is a sonar for hunting submarines. And it's a very long piece of string with a piece of hose pipe attached to it. And all it did was listened. I don't know whether there's anybody who's ex-Navy here. You might be cheating. But has anybody any idea what range we could track submarines with a piece of hose pipe with a few listening devices in? Up a bit? Up a bit? Well, close. The maximum range we held a contact was 438 miles. And that's going back in 1983. So one of the things you can be sure of is technology at the moment is moved on enormously. On board, not that ship, but a later ship, we were also getting real-time intelligence. So that was being sucked in by the British and the American intelligence machine, and then it was coming in to specially cleared people on board the ship, and you would be receiving raw intelligence about things happening around the world. Now, of course, I didn't realize at the time the people producing that intelligence were producing the intelligence for the picture they wanted us to assume. But what I can tell you is even back in 1985-86, a lot of intelligence material on what was happening in the world was flying around real time. So that was the ship. And this was what we were looking for most of the time. This is a Soviet ballistic missile submarine. This was the sort of submarine that would launch an attack on America. And they'd come out of their home ports and come down through the Norwegian Sea and into the Atlantic to hide. And our job was to detect them and then trail them. So that's what I did. And you paid me for doing it, and it was a very good job. The ship. If you see any pictures about the military on the BBC, I'll focus on the BBC, but the military always portrayed as shouting at each other. Life on board that ship was very quiet and relaxed, and people said good morning and how are you, and if you had a good day, and we got a bit of a problem, or we fixed that. So what you're told and what reality is can often be different things. So a little bit of a plug there for some good times in the Navy. When I came out of the Navy, I set up a little business. Most of you, or perhaps some of you, have heard this story. I'll just do it for the continuity. But eventually, I tried to get involved helping a local community, creating jobs, skills training, and it was focused around the dockyard area on rebuilding small boats. And this was the first one we ever did. That boat we got for £100. It was a wreck, and a little team rebuilt it. And then we started to get information on HMS Beagle, which sailed from Devonport with Darwin on board, and Captain Fitzroy. And many of the local people in that area can trace their ancestors to the crew on board HMS Beagle. So something exciting started to happen, and then it all went wrong. Very quickly, the project was closed down. We were threatened, bullied, intimidated. And I'll join the bit up because we know that we got in the way. We got in the way of a big military-industrial complex, and some people did not want a local community empowered because those people were working to shut communities down. And if you get a sense, perhaps you live in one of the bigger cities, if you get a sense that your community is under attack, it is under attack. And we got in the middle of it, and it eventually ended up with death threats. So we were a bit annoyed, and what we did is we started a newspaper. I'm not sure why we've lost a bit of that to the right-hand side. We'll see what happens. But basically, it was a small news sheet, an A4 sheet. We made it a bit jokey, and we took the mickey out of people. And then it grew, and this is the paper now, the UK column. We've got some in the little market shop at the back, and I'm going to encourage you to hopefully give us a little bit of money for one, but take one away and read it, because this paper is now going throughout UK. We can't publish every month. We could do if people would give us a small donation every month, but it's going into Scotland, it's going Ireland, Wales, England, France, Denmark, and they're appearing in America, New Zealand, and Australia. So we know we've got something, and all we said we were going to do is tell the truth that other people wouldn't tell. We've got 4 injunctions on us for reporting on what's happening with children. So we think this is a bit of a coup, and we'd like to keep it going. Our headlines here. This was the previous edition where we were asking the key questions about what was going on with the money supply. And our paper predicted when the banks were going to start falling. But here we've got 900 billion being moved around. Where did it come from? How is it we haven't got enough to finance hospitals or anything else, but all of a sudden 900 billion appears? And the reason is the money's not real, and this is the biggest financial scam you will ever come across. We are being fleeced, and the politicians across the parties are lying, absolutely lying to you. This is the latest edition. It's hard-hitting. We've got a cartoon of Gordon Brown doing his goose-stepping because he is goose-stepping us towards a police state. I'm not just saying that for effect. I believe it, and I hope I'm going to prove it to you. So we need to do something about this, and I can tell you this paper is read by the Labour Cabinet and has been for the past 2 years. And they don't like it. I assure you they don't like it. Neither does Mr. Cameron. David Cameron is the most dangerous man in politics. And the reason for that is he's being lined up to be Mr. Squeaky Clean. He did spend £680 on wisteria cleaning. We all have to do that. It's such a task. He's also claimed for second homes, but all of a sudden nothing goes in the papers about Mr. Cameron. He's become squeaky clean because he's the next Cabbage Patch clone Prime Minister. And we've got to do something to stop this nonsense. And we've decided to target it by calling him a Cabbage Patch doll. Have you seen him? If you look at pictures of David Cameron, his flawless face, because he's never had any problems, he is a Cabbage Patch doll. And if you open a Cabbage Patch doll's brain, you open the lids of its head, it's true.